Andrew Fox, former soldier in the British Armed Forces and research fellow at the Henry Jackson Society, joins us for more on the move to recognize a Palestinian state. Andrew, thank you so much for the time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, I want to start with your home country. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, along with France's president and now Canada's prime minister, have said that they want to recognize a Palestinian state. But who exactly will govern that state?
I think that's the biggest issue. Mr. Carney has said that it cannot be Hamas. And in some way, he seems to think that this can be achieved by any means other than force. I mean, the IDF have been trying for 21 months to get rid of Hamas without failure. And I don't think a statement from Canada's prime minister is going to be the thing that solves the issue. At the moment, Hamas is polling at 70% in the West Bank. They have huge support in that area of the Palestinian territories. And it's going to be very challenging, I suspect, should there be a free and fair election to stop Hamas from making electoral gains in this new state of Palestine that's being envisaged.
And what about the geographical challenges of this supposed state? How do two territories that are not connected become recognized as one?
Well, quite so. And we've been around this boy many times since 1948, and this isn't the first time that international leaders have tried to solve the problem. And at the moment, there's no clear solution presents itself. I mean, I was in Gaza just this week on Monday, and the wreckage there is absolutely astonishing. It's absolutely leveled. Um, and that needs to be rebuilt before we can even start talking about things like tunnels between the West Bank and Gaza and connecting the two halves of this state. So we're a very, very long way from a solution. So I feel that these announcements this week at the moment are nothing more than political posturing rather than presenting an effective solution to the problem.
Well, there's also been a lot of charged language accusing Israel of genocide. Is there merit to that accusation?
I don't believe so. I've been into Rafah twice with the IDF. I've been in there once with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I've seen this up close for the last 21 months, and I'm not seeing anything, particularly on the intent side of matters, to suggest that Israel is trying to exterminate Palestinians. They've killed fewer Palestinians than they've dropped numbers of bombs, which suggests that if you're trying to wipe out a race of people, then they're either the worst shots in history or they're actually taking civilian prevention measures. Around half of the dead are Hamas fighters, which is very indicative of the fact that something more than genocide is going on here. And even the statements presented by Israeli leaders, yes, people like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich have said absolutely appalling things that rightly deserve international condemnation, but they're not in the decision-making pathway for the war. And if you look at the comments by Netanyahu, Gallant, the old defense minister, that are put forward, they're actually taken wildly out of context, and it's very clear that they're talking about Hamas and not Gaza's population in the round. So no, I would reject completely the allegation of genocide.
Well, and I think the allegation of genocide is coming from the famine that is happening in Gaza. Could you speak on that?
Well, I would also disagree that there is a famine. I'd say there is hunger, there's widespread hunger, but famine has a very clear definition under international law. And we're nowhere near that yet. And when I was in Gaza, people were hungry, but they weren't emaciated. They looked relatively healthy. Um, but the key point is twice the amount of aid has gone in during the war as went in pre-war. Um, there is enough food by the UN's own statistics to feed everyone in Gaza now, today, which suggests that the issue is distribution, and that's the problem. The IDF hasn't taken on distribution. That has been Hamas, the UN, and a variety of other NGOs, and they've failed to get aid to the people who need it. Now, this is a war zone. There is clearly going to be a challenge of distributing aid in a war zone. And on top of that, it's a war zone where people haven't been allowed to flee. Egypt has shut the border. There's been nowhere for Gazan civilians to go. And that has just exacerbated what hunger there is. Now, nobody's denying that people are not living in utter misery, and I saw that myself this week, and my heart absolutely goes out to the Gazan civilians who are suffering. But there are a variety of actors to blame for the situation in Gaza, and not least Hamas, who seem to be getting an absolutely free pass on the international stage for their very significant role in the suffering of Gazan civilians.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for the time today, and thank you for breaking that down.
Thank you.